If you have all those calories sitting on your body, right, 100,000 calories, so what's the problem? Take it out of your body fat.
Most people think the only effective methods for rapid weight loss and reversing type 2 diabetes are through intermittent fasting, injection of Ozempic, or to cut out carbs completely, but that's not true at all.
That body fat is not there for looks. It's there for you as a source, as a store of calories.
Dr. Jason Fung, a best-selling author of Obesity Code and world's leading weight loss expert, reveals that there are 5 clever tricks that let you keep insulin levels low while enjoying carbs every day. He also covers what to eat for breakfast to keep on burning more body fat during the whole day. Carbs trick number 1, freeze carbs to burn off body fat stores. Most people don't realize your fridge can be a fat-burning weapon, transforming fattening carbs into insulin-friendly, weight loss carbs.
Resistant starch is a form of starch that your body cannot absorb. So starches are glucose. If you eat highly refined starches, you're going to absorb all that glucose. Well, if you take rice and you cook it and then cool it, when that starch recrystallizes, some of it becomes resistant starch, and what you see is that the blood sugar level goes down much lower than if you ate pure rice. This doesn't work for potatoes because when you reheat the potatoes, all that resistant starch just gets broken down into glucose. However, if you eat cooked and then cooled potatoes, such as potato salad with some vinegar, for example, that means you're going to create some of this resistant starch in the potato, and then the vinegar is going to help that further slow down the rise.
This starch resists digestion, meaning less glucose enters your blood, less insulin spikes, and more fat gets burned. So yes, your leftover rice from last night can literally help reverse insulin resistance. It feeds good gut bacteria, stabilizes blood sugar, and helps you stay full longer. Carbs trick number 2, no carb heavy meals close to bedtime. Here's the harsh truth. Those late night pasta bowls, piles of bread or savory snacks, they turn straight into body fat while we sleep.
Don't eat the late carb heavy meal. And the idea is that the later you eat, the more your body wants to store it away. Because after you eat, you're going to go to sleep, and therefore the body knows this, and therefore it's going to tell your body to store more of it away, and we don't want to store it away.
According to Dr. Fung, at night our body metabolism slows down, insulin resistance increases, and body fat storage ramps up.
Comparing the same meal, but taking an early dinner versus a late dinner, you can see that the blood glucose rises much higher in the meal that you take later. And the difference is only a few hours. It's a difference between a 9 p.m. dinner and a 6 p.m. dinner. So for sure, you need to avoid those late meals for a couple of reasons. One, if you eat late, there's no way you can burn off that energy. You're going to get a higher rise in insulin, and you're not going to be able to make up for it. You're less likely to go for a walk afterwards because it's late. And then the third thing is that you're not going to be able to make up for it by eating less. If you eat a big breakfast, for example, you can always make up for it by eating less at lunch or dinner. But if you eat a very heavy late meal, there's nothing you can do. The day is over, you're going to sleep, all of that's going to get stored away.
So if you want to wake up leaner, skip that late snack. Let insulin drop and burn body fat while you sleep. What's your biggest late night craving? Bread, rice, or sweets? Tell us below, and we will share Dr. Fung's favorite healthy swap in the replies. Carbs trick number 3, move within 30 minutes after a carb meal. Next, Dr. Fung explains how to erase half the damage of that carb-heavy meal for faster weight loss.
Walk within 30 minutes of eating. If you compare eating a meal and then walking compared to walking and then eating a meal, there's actually a major difference in the blood glucose. Why? Because after you've eaten a meal, there's all this glucose. And when you walk, you're going to encourage your muscles to start burning that glucose rather than storing it away. And because you don't want to store as much of it away, your insulin levels are going to fall. So for example, in this study, they found that when you had a walk before the meal, it didn't really do much to the blood glucose. You see that the blood glucose there is about 6.5 after the meal. However, if you walk immediately after the meal, it's going to go right down to about 5.6 or so. So it's actually a significant drop. If you wait 30 minutes, it's sort of in between, and the longer you wait after the meal, the less effect you're going to get.
That gentle movement signals your muscles to soak up glucose instead of storing it as fat, and it also significantly reduces insulin resistance and helps to reverse type 2 diabetes. So next time you eat carbs, don't crash on the couch. Take a walk and let your body burn them off before insulin does. Carbs trick number 4. No naked carbs. If you eat carbs by themselves, toast, rice, or fruit, what is going to happen to your insulin levels and ability to access body fat stores to burn away as fuel?
Don't eat naked carbs. You can add something like vinegar or acidic foods to actually slow down the absorption. They did a very interesting study where they compared bread and bread with lemon juice. And the idea is that organic acids are going to inactivate some of the salivary amylases, which are the digestive enzymes in our saliva that breaks down carbohydrates. Because the acidity inactivates it, the carbohydrate is not broken down.
Adding acidic foods like apple cider vinegar, lemon juice, pickles, or sauerkraut slows digestion, lowers the absorption of carbohydrates, and allows us to burn away body fat stores as fuel.
So what they found is that the amount of starch that is going to be released is much, much lower. And that not only works with lemon juice, but also all kinds of acids. So acetic acid, which is vinegar, or lactic acid, which is fermented and pickled foods, can also have this effect.
With this next special carbs trick, you can lower down blood sugar levels, lose weight, and reverse type 2 diabetes naturally while enjoying bread.
When you eat it with the butter or with olive oil, for example, you can drop it to 50, which is almost a 1/3 drop in the glycemic index simply by taking some olive oil with the bread. So the traditional way that some people do with the olive oil and the vinegar and dipping it can be very useful. The acid is going to slow down the digestion by blocking those salivary amylases, and the olive oil makes it gives it, the intestines something else other than the pure carbohydrate.
Have you tried drinking or adding apple cider vinegar to your meals? Did you notice less bloating or hunger? Carbs trick number 5. Eat carbs in a special order. You can eat the same meal, same carbs, same calories, and still lose more weight just by simply changing the order you eat them.
Eat the carbohydrates last. And it doesn't always seem intuitive, but you have to remember that when you eat the carbohydrates first, what happens is that your body can absorb those carbohydrates very, very quickly. The reason is that the foods don't go from our mouth into our intestines where they're absorbed. They're actually held in the stomach. The stomach is the sort of reservoir for the food, because as we're eating the food, we're eating it much faster than our intestines, the small intestines and large intestines, can actually absorb. So if you eat pure carbohydrates, such as a slice of bread at the beginning of the meal, it goes into the stomach, and the stomach is going to hold it. Then when the stomach pushes it out, it's sort of 100% carbohydrate. When it's 100% highly refined carbohydrate, the blood glucose is going to spike. If you eat proteins and vegetables first, what happens is that by the time you get to the carbohydrates at the end of the meal, when it goes into the stomach, it's actually going to be mixed around with all those proteins and fats and vegetables and all that sort of thing. When the stomach pushes out a bolus of food into the intestines for it to absorb, there's a bit of protein, there's a bit of fat, there's a bit of carbohydrate. So therefore, that blood glucose rise is much, much slower, and that makes a big difference. The average serum glucose was much, much lower when you ate the carbs last versus eating the carbs first, even though the two groups of people ate exactly the same meal. It was the food order that made a difference.
According to Dr. Fung, simply eating protein, fats, and vegetables first drops blood sugar spikes by 50% and insulin levels by 45%, allowing you to burn off body fat stores and reverse type 2 diabetes naturally. So what should you eat first thing in the morning to keep insulin quiet and burn fat all day? Next, Dr. Fung covers the perfect breakfast for fat loss.
This study by Dr. Ludwig from Harvard compared 3 different meals, all of the same calories. A high glycemic index breakfast, which was instant oats, a medium glycemic index breakfast of steel-cut oats. There was a low glycemic index breakfast of vegetable omelet, which is lower in carbohydrates, about 40% versus 65%. The change in the blood glucose is very different between all three meals. As expected, the high glycemic index meal is going to shoot up the blood glucose, as did the medium glycemic index. But look at the difference. When your body absorbs all those carbohydrates instantaneously, you get a very massive high peak in blood glucose, but then it just crashes and it goes much below normal. And what happens when the blood glucose goes down below normal is that you start to get hungry. And the low glycemic index, which of course had a much lower peak in glucose and also a much smoother blood glucose rise.
Dr. Fung's ideal breakfast is low in carbs and high in protein and fiber. Think eggs, avocado, and greens. Even hunger later in the day dropped dramatically. People naturally ate 80% fewer calories at lunch.
At lunchtime, what they found was that the people who ate a high glycemic index breakfast, the instant oats, were much more hungry and therefore they ate much more. When they're allowed to eat what they want, they ate 81% more calories than the low glycemic index group and 53 more calories than the medium group, even though these were exactly the same foods. And that shows you the difference between fast carbs and slow carbs. The natural unrefined carbohydrates, which are much smoother in terms of blood glucose, they contain more fiber, they're less processed, they're not as easily digested, they're not as easily absorbed, they tend to be much better.
People who ate veggie omelet breakfast or protein and fat before carbs felt fuller, increased their fat burn metabolism, and consumed far fewer calories later in the day. If you're over 50 and serious about fat loss, you need to watch as weight loss guru Dr. Jason Fung explains #1 insulin trick to burn fat faster than Ozempic.